did the UVC program and I came through 10 weeks, I thought I had learned something. I really felt like I had learned to throw some punches, and I felt tremendously capable and very inspired to join Jim's program, which was the Elite Martial Arts program, thinking, okay, I can come in here and I can build on my capacity to perform Elite Martial Arts. Let me tell you, after about the first class or so, I didn't really feel like I knew too much, okay? But I did know sufficiently well that this was a program that I wanted to master, at least develop the skills that he was going to share with me and teach me. Well, I had a good teacher, I knew that. So I had to learn the information first. I had to learn from somebody who knew, and obviously he was a master at it. But do you know where we started? We started at the absolute basics, the fundamentals. And we learned how to move in balance. We simply learned how to move sideways, step to the side, and be in balance. It sounds really basic, but we had to master that skill of stepping to the side and maintaining our balance. Okay, and until we could do that, we had to repeat it over and over and over again. Okay, so there's my repetition. We were taught of moving in balance to the left, to the right, forwards and backwards. But until we had acquired that skill and had learned it, and we didn't feel so good at it at the beginning, and it sounds really basic, but until we did that, we didn't move on to another skill. We didn't build on it. So when we built on that basic skill of moving to the side, backwards and forwards, we only built on it by introducing one more skill or one level of complexity. So when we were learning the new skill, what do you think happened to the first skill? What did we do with it?
Integrated it.
We integrated it. So we kept on repeating it. So once you learn a part of a new habit and you've repeated it to where you feel comfortable and you know how to do it, you don't just stop doing it and think that you can do it again. You keep that as a part of your repetition and you repeat and then you build on it. So it takes time, it takes practice, it takes a master to be able to guide you, so you need the education. But you also need the will, which to you is to find what it is within you, the reason that's important for you to achieve a certain goal. And if that's a health and wellness goal, make it specific enough for you to be able to do what it takes to make these things habits. These little bits of behavior that I'm going to teach you today will tell you what are success habits for health and wellness. Why it's even important for you is unique to you. First thing that I'd like to reflect on is something that we talked about in one of our earlier talks, and that is eating most of it, if not all of our meals, with an aim to performing a low glycemic load on the body. How quickly the food you just ate turns into sugar in the blood. So you can imagine that if you eat sugar, it's going to turn quickly into sugar in the blood. There's not much digestion to go. So things are white flour nature, processed goods, baked goods, sugary goods, all go quickly into sugar in the body. Even some fruits that are high in sugar could quickly become sugar in the blood. And think about orange juice. That's what we give diabetics who are in a hypoglycemic state to get them out. They rapidly can respond. So they're fast high glycemic index foods that have a high glycemic load. The opposite are foods that tend to take a lot more time to digest and release energy much slower into the blood, in particular less sugar. So what foods would that be? Proteins, absolutely. Proteins and fats. So your proteins and fats release energy much slower and they have a much lower glucose level. So we're not releasing sugar quickly into the body. Why is that important? What we know now is that it's the insulin levels in our body that are causing disease, not the sugar. So it's indirectly the sugar. But what happens is the body responds to the blood glucose level going up, and our insulin from the pancreas just goes boom, floods our system, and it does its job of quickly trying to gather up the glucose and sending it off to where it's supposed to go. It feeds our cells that need energy right away. That's usually our brain and any muscles that are doing work, like our heart and our organs, but once they're full, very efficiently, that the insulin is pulling all that energy into our storage cells. So high insulin levels lead to a lot of effort by the body to pull out energy from the blood. So we're actually storing a lot more energy. So we're getting fatter. So when we are storing a lot of energy that we're not utilizing, it's going into our hips, it's going into our waistline. When we eat low glycemic, we don't send out as much insulin. So if you have a slice of whole wheat bread, it's best to have that whole wheat bread with either a good fat or a good protein to slow down that release. So we're not going to spike up our insulin levels, and we're going to keep our blood sugar and our insulin way more even. It's going to satiate us more for a longer period of time too. That means that we're not going to get hungry quickly. So we're not having a sugar craving an hour after we ate something. We're going to feel, a gradual coming on of hunger, not this sudden sugar craving or urge to eat when we eat with a low glycemic load. So an example of that would be for breakfast, rather than having toast and jam or a bagel with cream cheese, which is really not enough fat, a good breakfast would be non-fat Greek yogurt, some nuts, lots of berries on top. That would be an awesome breakfast. You have good protein and you have good fat in the yogurt and the nuts. And berries are a fibrous carbohydrate. All fruits and vegetables, except for some melons and bananas, are very fibrous. So they don't raise blood sugar as quickly as a grain-based carbohydrate that's not complex. Okay? So that would be an awesome breakfast. Protein shake, couple of boiled eggs, awesome, doing a great job. So lunch, whole wheat sandwich, lean turkey, lots of salad, an awesome lunch. We have the benefits of the lean meat that slow down the digestion of that bread to where our blood sugar level isn't spiking. And if we've chosen high wheat, the fiber also helps with not spiking our blood sugar. We know that high insulin levels contribute to diabetes. This is the cause of diabetes, high insulin level. It's the cause of a lot of cardiovascular disease because insulin is inflammatory to all of our arteries. It's a contributor to renal disease, everything that requires our hormones to be in balance. Thyroid, cortisol, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone all come into play every time we spike and maintain high insulin levels, because they all have to be in balance with each other. So you can imagine somebody who has a simple, like a donut and coffee for breakfast, another form of carbohydrate for lunch, and then maybe pasta and mashed potatoes or things of that nature for dinner, and don't pair them up with some sort of good fat, or they make them the dominant source of energy at those meals, continues to have a high blood sugar and a high blood insulin level the whole time, predisposing them to a lot of inflammation, and that's the cause for the diabetic situations and a lot of our chronic illnesses. So eating with a low glycemic load would be your first thing you're trying to do. If we keep that in mind for each time we eat, even for our snacks, which is why fruit with nuts makes sense. It makes sense to not just have something sugary or sweet, or drink our sugary beverages. It makes sense for us to have complex carbohydrates along with healthy fats. Healthy fats are those that come from plants. So we're looking at nice avocados. All of our olive oils and sunflower and safflower oil are healthy nuts, and less from saturated animal fats. Okay, they're just not as healthy as our other good optimal health kinds of fats. Okay, so the first thing you're going to try to develop are habits of eating with a low glycemic load every time you eat. And that takes a little bit of thought and a little bit of planning.